sorry for my tardiness. I know that I am an hour late. In my tardiness. Shit, I had to go do some daddy duties, man. I had to do some daddy duties. Kids had gingerbread house today. You can sit it right there. You can sit it right there. Don't worry about that. We're not even I'm already late, so it's like, man, hold on, you know what I'm saying? Can you make sure they can hear me? Yeah, I got to make sure that, you know what I'm saying, the thing is on. Give people time to show up. I know I'm late, you know what I mean? I was supposed to be live about an hour ago, really 30 minutes ago, 10:30.
Oh yeah.
But you know, daddy duties, man. It's Christmas time. It's December. In my household, December always crazy. First it go my birthday, then my wife's birthday, then in between my wife's birthday and Christmas, there's always, actually between my birthday and my wife's birthday, there's always 50 million things for my kids to do. My daughter had a dance recital, you know what I'm saying, a couple like 2 weeks ago. So, you know, I know I'm a little tardy, man. I know I'm a little tardy. Shout out to everybody that's already been streaming on Spotify and podcast, man. Research. They can hear me good. I'm just gonna jump right into it though, man. Today I learned objectives. We have exploring the white comfort zone. We're gonna define whiteness. We're gonna evaluate AIPAC to local politics, and then we're gonna understand how education is failing us here in America. I think with these kids in this video, you're gonna really be able to see that. A great example of that. You record?
Yes, sir.
Bam, you record.
All right, we rolling.
And we rolling.
Spontaneous percussion.
Yeah, man. So now that we got this started officially, I know I'm starting off a little choppy. It's been a crazy Wednesday, but getting right into it, speaking of choppy, talking about convenience and comfort, I would argue that a lot of the backlash we're seeing is a bunch of white people, particularly white conservatives, responding to having their comfort zone disrupted. It reminds me of this debate argument that I used to make when I was in college, when I was busting our favorite university's ass in those policy debate rounds. It was one particular argument that they just couldn't shake with, because in debate it's a conversation about framing power and who gets to talk about what, when, where, and how. And you know, the comfort zone of whiteness. Before I even start playing the video, I think this is, you know what I'm saying, important. This is my 2NR, but people that don't know what policy debate is, you have two speakers on both sides. You have a 1A, a 1AC, a 2AC, a 1NR, a 2NR. Being the 2N or the 2A just means that you give the last speech for your team. I was a 2N. My winning record at the 2N probably was like 85%. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say probably. I definitely won damn near 85, 90% of the rounds that I went on negative, and probably only lost like 10, 15%. But this is an argument about the comfort zone of whiteness. And as I read, you know what I'm saying, it'll start to make more sense. Shout out to everybody in the comment section. All two of y'all right now that's on YouTube, and all two of y'all right now that's on Facebook. I can't see my audience that's on Substack or on Twitter or on TikTok. So shout out to everybody that's tuning in from there right now. Education is elevation. About to have us a little school session before we get into those little clips, man. Whiteness is a social location of power, privilege, and prestige. The political climate that we have in J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, they have an epistemological stance. Epistemology is a fancy-ass word for knowledge production, where you know what you know, how you know what you know. They have an epistemological stance that is a manifestation of whiteness that is used in public dialogue as an exercise in denial. See, whiteness is a culture that often colonized a way of life that is predominantly undetectable to white folks. More dangerous than racism is the comfort zone of whiteness. That's the meta privilege that stabilizes and challenges white supremacy and allows it to fill in, controlling how race is discussed. Now, I would say that when we talk about, when we are spectating or we are witnessing how dialogue of race happens. It is around who gets to control these racial conversations. And what I would say is that with white privilege, critical race theory, the intersections talking about gender violence, all the various ways of talking about privilege, these are all the ways that I feel like white people in America started feeling like they were losing control of how to control these race conversations. I said it's white control, white. They were losing control of how to dictate these racist conversations around race. The culture wars is nothing but resistance to how white people can maintain control around discourse around race. This was an argument that I made, I believe, in 2014 in the semifinals, no, actually in the 7th round of the NDT against the #1 ranked team in the country that were Northwestern, and we smashed them, I believe, on a 2-1 decision, because this piece of evidence right here, it really illustrates the psychology in many different ways of how white people respond to hearing discourse about racism, and how a lot of times the call comes from inside the house. We heard during the entirety of Trump's presidency, the first time, of individuals being called a snowflake, people being called being sensitive, and folks saying, hey, you just can't have a thick skin and you mad because your comfort zone has been disrupted. This epistemological stance adapts to the crowd alternatives, and it reestablishes the white comfort zone that makes white privilege invincible. At the same time, we have individuals talking about how, hey, if those immigrants wanted to live here and be safe, they should abide by the law. If they wanted to, enjoy the luxury of America, they should abide by the law. Meanwhile, they have a president that's in that position who has broken more laws than any immigrant they have been able to catch. This is an illustration of white privilege, and it's showing you how they want to reestablish the comfort zone to make white privilege invisible, and that's the reason why. Have y'all seen the list of the words that Donald Trump said you can't say? Like they talk about indoctrinating kids, and then they make it where there's certain words, certain language, certain vocabulary words that cannot be taught to kids or can't be said in kids' classroom. I want to pull that up real fast because I want to read to y'all some of these words, because it's really, it's to me, it's like it's not only illustrating what I'm talking about in terms of the comfort zone of whiteness. It also illustrates how conservative contradictions work when they start talking about people being sensitive, being snowflakes, not having thick skin. You beefing with words. with Head Start students. Here's some of the words they can't say. Accessible, activism, activist, advocacy, advocate, allyship, all-inclusive, barrier, belong, bias, climate crisis, clean, DEI, cultural heritage, gender, historically, identity, immigrants, LGBTQ, men who have sex with men, mental health, minorities. Now, some of these like, okay, but some of these like, hold on, trauma, status, racism, race, inclusive, equity. Like the fact that these words are made a list, we should ask ourselves, who is impacted by these words and who not impacted by these words, and who made to feel discomfort and uncomfortable by these words. When I say meta privilege, I'm talking about the ability of whiteness to define the conceptual territory of which race is constructed, utilized, and interrogated. You feel me? Whiteness sets the terms of which racial identity is constructed. White conservatives and many white liberals perpetuate whiteness and how it carries authority within larger cultural contexts. It dominates the sets of terms on which every aspect of race is discussed, which means, in debate, say they lose because the meta privileges of whiteness are aspects and functions that stabilize agents. But I feel like that's a bunch of academic jargon to say this. The way that white people have used legislation, policies, curriculum, practices, and values to dictate who has authority around race and racism and who don't have authority on race and racism, whose emotions matter the most when you feel discomfort around race and racism, and whose don't. See, in understanding the comfort zone and disrupting the comfort zone of whiteness, I always think about who in the status quo is made to always already be uncomfortable, and who in the status quo, if they experience any willful or simple discomfort, it's justifiable for them to act a goddamn fool. What we know is that white men, particularly cisgender, able-bodied white men, especially the ones that believe in Jesus Christ, we know that their comfort zone is made for all of us to already be able to understand, to always already to adapt to it. If you can't adapt to the white man's comfort zone, they almost justifiable in throwing full-blown temper tantrum hitchy fits because how dare you not live up to the way that this country taught me entitlement. I remember seeing a video about Trevor Noah talking about his mother's relationship to poor people in South Africa. And what he was saying is that his mother would always take a pity and say, like almost like shame on them, and I feel sorry for them, talking about the poor white people in South Africa because they were laying, talking about how when she gave money to the poor homeless black people that was in South Africa, she didn't say that much. And the distinction that she made was that the white black people, we know how to struggle, we know poverty, and we used to it, you know what I'm saying? So we know how to deal with it. White folks, especially back home in South Africa, they were led to believe that this violence they're experiencing could never happen to them. Because the comfort zone of whiteness is not just a American phenomenon, it's a global context in how white people and how white kinship, going back referring to the other last episodes or the last lives I just talked about, I'm talking about the white kinship, the white comfort zone is how they're able to, I feel like, forge the relationship. I believe in your comfort, you believe in my comfort, I believe in their comfort, us as white people believe in our comfort, and we can always dictate this hierarchy based off of how people are able to suture and play in and adapt to our comfort. And if you don't, we're going to justify bringing violence and excluding you and bringing out crazy policies against you. And I think that's something we should really sit with, you know. Getting back into the language though, meta privilege of whiteness is the aspects of society that function as stabilizing agents in the construction of whiteness that guarantees the preservation of white supremacy. And I would argue that white supremacy is still white supremacy, but the language that we probably should use now is white nationalism, white Christian nationalism, if you want to specify the flavor of it. Because white supremacy, I've seen somebody say, when you say that, it allows for some white folks to have a little clique and be like, that's what we want. We want you to feel like we are superior, we the inferior. I think that, you know, there's something that we can settle with, wrestle with. So the self-deception is unmistakable when we talk about and pinpoint racist acts, but are not able to see themselves as racist and their skin color as being remotely connected to the racism and racist behavior. This point is what I always talked about in race. I always talked about in college debate, is imagine a world of racism without any racists. Imagining a world of white supremacy or a world of white nationalism without any white supremacists or white nationalists. The white comfort zone always allows for reality to be mystified and for us to go in with this neutral, objective idea of colorblindness that says that individuals always already do something about the individuals, and focusing on race makes you crazy. This is what I would call racial gaslighting. Not only is it racial gaslighting, it's leading into, right now I'm reading from an article, when I'm talking about the comfort zone of whiteness, this comes from the authors Flagg and Bremer. Flagg, Flagg, and Bremer, I got to see what their first names, I got this in my old 2NR, but these are the authors' names, that's, you know what I'm saying, the evidence that I'm referencing to when I'm talking about self-deception and thinking about comfort zone and emotions and who can mobilize their emotions. In being intersectional, black people and women and gay people are seen as being extremely emotional. And we're seen as being extremely emotional. You feel me? When I say being, I'm talking about as a black man. It's because the way that emotion is inscribed onto our bodies is seen as being in opposition to us being logical. Meaning, anytime we show emotion, it allows for the white hemisphere to say confirmation bias. I told y'all that nigga was emotional. These niggas emotional. These bitches emotional. These gays are emotional. While always being able to ignore that when we talk about access, opportunity, what we highlight in history, All that's based off of what makes white people feel comfortable or what they deem as being legitimate based off of whatever they values, emotions, morals, ethics is at the time of the day or that part of the year or that part of history. This is all illustrating how the white comfort zone or how the discomfort of whiteness, how we all have to be held accountable for it, whether we want to, whether we think about it or not, because we all are impacted by it. How we feed ourselves, how we put the roof over our head, how we relate to each other, it typically has to do with this white comfort zone. Microaggressions, implicit bias, all are a part of the comfort zone of whiteness. I'm looking at this document, so I'm sorry if y'all in the comments right now, you know what I'm saying, going up. I can't see the comments right now. I'm really sitting with this document so I can get through it and get to these other videos. To perpetuate the comfort zone through apathy and blame is the desire to turn the discussion away from racism that insists that we should let go in the denial of their own privilege and responsibility of oppression. We've been told, especially me, a lot of my career on social media has been built on being in opposition to white supremacy and being able to intellectually engage and spar with a bunch of different, conservatives, may they be far right or moderate, on what they saying is wrong. And what I understand and know is that I've been told that I should stay out the past. And that Black people go out our ways to engage with history to make ourselves victims. And that us talking about what happened in the 1960s and the 1970s has nothing to do right now. Not only would they gaslight me and make it as if I'm not using contemporary examples that I've experienced in my Black ass life, in my 35 years, like the school of prison pipeline or the war on drugs to talk about, or those current crime we talk about, but also, I ain't never met a white person that was born tarred or feathered. I ain't never met a white person that was forced to court soldiers. But white people aren't chastised about celebrating victimization when we pop in on firecrackers on July 4th. And they gotta go further back in the past than we do when we start talking about 1865 and 63. So think about it right now, go back to what's going on right now. A bunch of the landmark pieces of legislation that's dictated my life, y'all life, your uncle's name life, and some instance your grandpa's name life has been rolled back. So when you have legislation that was able to get us to some progression that y'all always told us we was ungrateful for, and you say that we ain't gonna do X, Y, and Z, you roll it back. You roll back access to education, or you roll back access to be able to go to the polls, and you say we were stuck in the past. It sounds like the calls come from inside the house. You were stuck in the past. So we see right here, I'm gonna repeat that part again. The way that white nationalists and Donald Trump's administration is moving, they perpetuate the comfort zone through apathy, and they blame the desire. They blame us and deploy their desire to turn the discussion away from racism and tell us that we should let it go in denial of their own privilege and responsibility of oppression, while saying we should not be in the past, while trying to drive us to the past, while saying, hey, it's all in your head. This is racial gaslighting. With privilege comes the responsibility. I said in the debate, I said they should lose, but in this instance, with privilege comes much responsibility. And when it comes to the polls or comes to the curriculums, we should understand they losing. They losing their irresponsible ways of tricking us into thinking that they was white people that was looking out for us. Like Bremer said, financially privileged white people have the option of existing in an apathetic bubble, a comfort zone that secludes them from the reality of social inequalities, and the affirmative strategically chose to exist in the apathetic bubble, which means they are not ready for the next level. Even right now, when it comes to how our news get to us, it gets to us in a fast-paced, hyper-capitalistic approach and making what we can never keep up with what's going on. That's how Donald Trump was able to slide by, you feel me, all this fascism and white nationalism, because we being bombarded with racism, with news every hour. If I've been live right now for 26 minutes. In 26 minutes, it's guaranteed when I pull out my phone and I hop on any timeline, I'm gonna see a bunch of shit that I missed, that I should have made a video about, I thought I made a video about, but I can't keep up. This is the fast-paced, hyper-capitalist approach that not only serves to sustain the white comfort zone, and not only sustain, you know what I'm saying, serves to sustain, you know what I mean, this hierarchy of white over black, light over dark. It also makes it where we fight with each other. And instead of punching up, we punch it down, we punch it to the left. Instead of punching to diagonal to the, you know what I'm saying, to the up, we punching, you know what I'm saying, to the side, we punching down. It's like, hey, that's the reason why I'm talking about this white comfort zone. I'm gonna make this piece available on Substack, so make sure y'all subscribe to the Substack, to the newsletter. I'm not gonna be able to get through all this. I'm gonna read one more paragraph. Let's see. I'm gonna read the end of this, man. Then I'm gonna start trying to weave and show internal links between the comfort zone of whiteness and when I get to other conversations, man. But to end this little lesson on the comfort zone of whiteness and defining whiteness. In matter of race, silence and evasion have historically ruled. White folks have no comfort zone when it comes to discussing white racism. If not apathy, the culture of niceness is deployed. Bremer says the culture of niceness works to support the self-deniers, especially who can hide behind a caring, nice facade instead of dealing with the discomfort of personal racism. The comfort zone of whiteness sustains that racism doesn't exist anymore and therefore no longer a topic of polite conversation. This came from 2014. I feel like I was cooking when I think it's the reason why I was able to whoop a lot of ass with that one right there. Man. I think it's a reason. It's a reason. Sure, right? You can't hear your mic on Jack. Hold on, they can't hear me still. The mic on your shirt not working.
The mic, nah. So we got this mic back here.
It's not working.
What you got your audio on?
I got it on Black Magic Design.
Should be picking up.
They saying can't hear the mic on your jacket. Just the room mic. So they mean, hold on, man.
We'll go through your computer, and then I still got this one on the back end.
That's weak, man. I feel like I was, man.
Because right here it's picking up on the.
Can y'all hear me now? Y'all hear me now in the comments? Oh, that's cold. 20 minutes ago. But though, you got it right there though. You got it right there. I'll be able to run it back. Can't hear still. What you thought? Though, oh man, hold on. You can't hear me still. Oh, let's see. Let me know in the comments. Let me see. Figure out, man. That's unfortunate, man. Let's see. Can y'all hear me? That's better. Sounds much better. Man, that's man. Oh man. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna get that edited, because here in the studio the microphone was working, so I'm gonna make sure I get that edited and y'all get that. I think that having a language to describe the reality that you in, it was real liberating for me. In tuning in to research over me search, I hope that I'm able to provide a language and vocabulary that allows for you to use more verbiage to explain what's going on to you. I always felt like I was being disarmed when I wasn't able to say what I mean what I say, and articulate myself to talk about what was going on in the world or how I felt. So I'm hoping that when you tune in, whether you tuning in with your mama and them, or your cousins and them, or your kids, or the homies, that when you hear these analysis, maybe whether I'm talking about theory like whiteness, or whether I'm talking about, Jasmine Crockett or Cori Bush or Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, or I'm talking about what's trending with Diddy, I'm hoping that I'm giving some language, some concepts, some historical backing that make you think a little different, but also that you can pick up, take away from when you're done listening. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in. Apologies if that last thing wasn't able to get in through there. Now I'm finna get to some other learning objectives, man. Yeah. Yes.
Sometimes man. I am a conspiracy theorist, but I only believe in the conspiracy theories that are true. And by the way, Susie and I have
just part of this clip play. Do y'all know how many niggas has been delegitimized because they seen as conspiracy theories? Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, in the comment section. But ain't the whole concept of a conspiracy theory something that was manufactured by the CIA to be able to discredit conversations about white supremacy and colonialism and imperialism, to delegitimize it, to make people seem as being crazy and deranged? So the fact now that we have an individual that's benefited from said delegitimizing stories, saying that conspiracy theories is bad, now saying conspiracy theories is good and that's actually the truth, to me, it's a mindfuck. What y'all think?
Joked in private and in public about that for a long time. For example, I believed in the crazy conspiracy theory back in 2020 that it was stupid to mask 3-year-olds at the height of the COVID pandemic, that we should actually let them develop some language skills.
Another example of the comfort zone of whiteness and white privilege. When white folks feel like something is happening to their kids, they feel like they have all the jurisdiction and authority to say what their kids should happen and what shouldn't happen with their kids, regardless of what the law is. When black folks say some shit to happen to our kids that we don't want or we do want, we don't have the authority to exercise it, even so much they will lock our ass up if we feel like the kids should not receive. Oh man, let's say that lecture that says that we should be happy our ancestors were saved from incivility and saved from having, flies fly around our head because we were starving. Oh, let's say we don't want our kids to. It's a whole bunch of examples I can give where it's like, hey, niggas in our authority of being able to be a parental, a guardian, it's taken away. And to me, it's just like this. If I want my child to learn that America was a country built on colonization and built on enslavement, and I want my child to learn that, how come me wanting my child to learn that is not taken as serious as you not wanting your child to wear a mask, even though it can help the general welfare? It was a public health issue. Just I want to take this time actually to be real serious actually. A heavy heart goes to every American and really everybody throughout the world that's still mourning and still processing the loss of a loved one that was gone and taken away during COVID. I know a lot of people that lost grandmamas, that lost mothers, that lost cousins due to the lack of leadership this country had during COVID. Regardless of how much y'all want to play into the pseudo-intellectual, pseudo-science conspiracy theories around COVID and the coronavirus, there were a lot of people that still to this day trying to pick up the pieces from how either A, they lost somebody, or B, what we call long-term COVID. It's a bunch of people right now that experiencing disabilities or impacts and symptoms that they did not experience before COVID. A lot of y'all try to sound smart and being contrarians, and all y'all doing is showing you don't understand public health, and all you doing is showing that you're really a goddamn sheep. And you showing me who you plug into in terms of who can sheep you, who can sleep you. Stay woke. If you believe that coronavirus was started because of some goddamn cell phone towers, you stupid and you a sheep. If you believe that children wasn't able to help the mobilization of coronavirus and that children wasn't impacted by coronavirus, you don't really care about kids. And what we're seeing right here is that when it comes to the intellect and the leadership and the capacity to have morals, the vice president of the United States don't have that. He don't got that.
Believed in this crazy conspiracy theory that the media and the government were covering up the fact that Joe Biden was clearly unable to do the job.
Joe Biden was clearly unable to do the job. Donald Trump was clearly also unable to do the goddamn job. What we call conservative contradictions is them having all the means and all the things talking about Sleepy Joe gotta go. I agree, Sleepy Joe gotta go. But now Doge and Donald gotta hit the dough too. The reason why you feel like he didn't have the capacity to be in leadership is because, hey, he was falling asleep. He was rambling. He was at times he sounded like he was deranged. Everything that we said was unpresidential or showed you that Joe Biden didn't have the ability to carry on another presidency, Donald Trump doing that times too. And I think all old geriatric white men should be able to be measured with a ruler that we measure everybody else. We got a whole bunch of white men that's not going, hey, these folks gonna be kicking the bucket within the next 10 to 15 years, and we're gonna be left picking up the pieces about what all they egotistical asses is doing. They're gonna be gone. All they're gonna be able to do is, well, a bunch of old white, hey, I'm being real, old white men have been able to do this in America for a long time. Wreak havoc on society while being able to get a whole bunch of profit, a whole bunch of capital, a whole bunch of wealth by wreaking havoc. They die and don't really have to deal with the havoc they've, you know what I'm saying, reached, while passing on all the profits, all the wealth that they were able to generate from causing havoc, just to have their descendants say, how dare you try to blame me for what people did before me, and I don't want to be blamed before what they did, but I damn sure don't want to let go of nothing they gave to me either. That's how that shit work. That's how the Compass on the Whiteness work. The Compass on the Whiteness work, where we can talk about all of the colonial violence being bad, but all of the assets and wealth that was built from colonial violence, they feel like they're supposed to have that. And all it is the more we talked about Marxism and colonialism and imperialism, the more niggas start to realize, hey, all the shit y'all say y'all supposed to really have, y'all ain't supposed to really have it. As a matter of fact, I would argue that all the barbaric, inhumane, violent shit y'all did, from stealing land to killing people, y'all did that. You mastered it. You scaled it up on institutional structural scales. You know what I'm saying? And then you made it illegal. All the ways that white folks was able to rape and pillage for America is now seen as being illegal. And it should be, but it should be seen illegal retrospectively. It should be seen legal then. And this is how we start getting into the Compass on the Whiteness as well. Hey, whenever white people go do some shit in America, or do some shit in the world, and it's seen as being the great humanitarian going to stop some shit, it's not seen as being terrorism. You can go hold somebody captive in their own community, and we don't call it capitalism. I mean, we don't call it terrorism. We don't call it colonialism. I had somebody that went to the military, man. I ain't gonna say bro name, you feel me? Told me, man, I was in Kuwait. And when I'm there, I'm thinking like, damn, this shit fucked up. This they shit. He was in the army. He like, man, this they shit. We just here. We telling them what they can do, how they can do it, when they can do it. And we just here. We ain't from here. We got guns in a uniform. And because we got guns in a uniform, we gotta do what we gotta do. Hey, listen, I live in Houston right now. It only meant by being in Houston. Whether you live in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Oakland, New York, if a foreign entity came into your community, your hood, your village, your trailer park, your suburb, and told you what you can and can't do, how would you feel? That's what we do, and start talking about freedom ain't free in this country, when in actuality, all that shit for imperialism. I seen a dope ass video. Motherfucker said they were over there fighting for your freedom. A person rhetorically asked, "How my freedom get over there? How my freedom get over there?" Hey man, Taliban, Al Qaeda, they ain't patrolling the community and busting through the doors. You feel me? None of the people that American imperialism has trained me to see as the person that I should see that the biggest threat to my freedom is not threatening my mama freedom, my daddy freedom. You know what? My daddy got off of parole today. After I get done with this, I'm going back home. We're gonna celebrate my daddy get out parole. This did 10 years parole. 10 years parole after serving 5 years in jail. Just wanted to throw it in there.
And I believed in the conspiracy theory that Joe Biden was trying to throw his political opponents in jail rather than win an argument against his political opponents.
The call coming from inside the house. How many people as Donald Trump and the Trump administration started talking about criminalizing, throwing in jail? How many people have found themselves wrapped up in different, indictments? How many of his opponents have found themselves being sued?
At least on some of these conspiracy theories, it turns out that a conspiracy theory is just something that was true 6 months before the media admitted it. And that's my understanding.
Before I even get into Cori Bush, y'all remember, always remember, Donald Trump, old geriatric white man, ear healed quicker than a 6-year-old scrape that they got from just getting a little boo-boo. I always remember that. Always remember when they said the KKK ain't here no more, that we can go to a Trump rally and see them there. I'll always remember when they say that we making it up and that, you know, these white nationalists are not in cahoots with the police officers, they lying. Hey, remember when they said that TikTok was being banned because of national security, and we knew it was because of destabilization of Israel, and we knew it was because of destabilizing America's relationship and allyship with Israel? Remember that? Remember that as I go into this video. Now, I'm about to be trying to be real intentional with this. I have another episode I'm going to be uploading, you know, to Spotify, Apple Podcasts later on today, along with this. It's right here already. But in the video I'm going to upload later on goes more into depth about AIPAC, Israel, local politics, litmus test, things like that. But I'm trying to be productive, and I'm trying to be positive, and I'm trying to be, you know, unifying. There's a bunch of fights that we have right now within the left about litmus tests, about Israel, Palestine, about Jasmine Crockett, about the Texas Senate, about local politics. I'm trying to watch my tone, because I think that a lot of our tone is making it where we're responding to each other real hyphy, and we're real a bunch of, you know, of disrespect. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping with this approach of thinking about, talking about Cori Bush, you know, what happened to Cori Bush, you know, and thinking about AIPAC, I'm hoping that it can raise some understanding and consciousness, no pun intended, as well as land on the ears in a way where I'm trying to get understanding. I'm not trying to prove I'm right. I'm just trying to like show you, hey, this is the research I've done, and I'm gonna present it to you. I'm not trying to fight at all. The last thing I say before I play this video is this: as a Texan, a nigga that's born and raised in Texas, a person that spent most of his life in Texas, I know most Texans care about healthcare. I know most Texans care about quality education. I know most Texans care about, I know in Houston, we ain't even got the city to pick up our trash. You got to get somebody to pick up your trash through a third party. See what I'm saying? I know in Texas, you know what I'm saying, we want to make sure that the money they putting towards border security is now outweighing the people they trying to secure in terms of the border, our life, our quality of life. You feel me? I understand all that. I do know whether I'm in this side of Houston, that side of Dallas, that part of Austin, that part of San Antonio, I know that there's a lot of people that don't give a damn about international politics and don't know much about Israel, Palestine. What I will say is that just because you don't know how it impacts you, it does not mean it don't impact you. With that being said, to all my fellow content creators, all my fellow influencers, especially all of us that's engaging in discourse around Jasmine Crockett, James Tyler Rico, Israel, Palestine, and litmus tests, I think that we all should be in good faith in seeing that the reason why we have our platforms is to educate our audiences on things they either A, don't know, or B, don't think about. Meaning that I feel like we should always keep that consistency, especially when it comes to topics that we obviously don't know or don't think about. A lot of these sensational takes that I've seen about this has been, you know, people talking like that. So with that being said, also to my leftist homies, you know what I'm saying? I'm hoping that because we care a lot about local elections, Cori Bush has not taken any money from AIPAC. Not only has Cori Bush not taking any money from AIPAC, I'm about to take myself off the screen and just let her play the entirety, and then we're gonna get into what I mean. Because I only got like 14 minutes left.
The seat back. Let's tear down AIPAC. Let's tear down these big corporations from owning our elections and owning our elected officials. Let's make this a historic win, one where we absolutely shake the fabric of this country, and they have to reckon with the fact that corporations are now people, and we're going to turn that around because we're going to take this seat back for the people. Thank you.
Read the time off this clock correctly, you win the clock.
Dude, I've never seen one of these before.
Oh, we're gonna get into how the babies can't tell time. But in saying this real simplistically, man, For my leftist homeboys and homegirls, she's a non-conforming people. Cori Bush is a politician that I think that we can spend time on, and we can put a lot of our effort and energy on, and making sure we can mobilize her in terms of how we talk about discourse on the internet, and to making sure she becomes one of those individuals that can get us those policies to make sure those weapons is not being sent, and to make sure our tax dollars goes more into healthcare, education, making sure our trash cans get picked up by the city. I'm gonna get into that, but instead of fighting with Jasmine Crockett supporters or fighting with Tyler Rico supporters or fighting with Texans that know more about what's going on in my state than you do, you can put that energy that's much more productive in thinking about a candidate that could actually get you the shit you want. All of us free Palestine. All of us, you feel me, politically, socially, economically, for Palestinian sovereignty. We all feel like Palestine should exist. We all feel like Palestine has the ability to defend itself. With that being said, I think that it's more productive for us to spend our time with focusing on candidates like Cori Bush, you feel me, than causing a whole bunch of disarray and fighting with individuals that's on our side. You feel what I'm saying? Now, do I understand there's a huge difference between being a liberal and being a leftist? Hell yeah. Reform versus you want to view the new system. Definitely understand that wholeheartedly. But what I do know is that we ain't even in the first quarter of Trump's presidency. Not even in the first quarter. What I do know is that us punching side to side and punching down is not a sustainable way of resistance. It's not a way that we're going to be able to keep up in terms of making sure we ain't exhausted and tired. If we fighting each other and we getting fought on the outside, there is no way for us to come up with strategies and methods to make sure we get that freedom or the liberation. So with that being said, you feel me? Just that. If y'all ask, to people that say, why does Palestine, Israel matter to Texas? I'm gonna try to say this real slowly and get to it real simply. And again, I'm gonna have a much more elaborate explanation that I upload, because I had a conversation yesterday about it. Three things. I'm gonna use Cop City first. As Black people, we care about criminal justice. As Black people, we care about how much funding is getting sent to the police. As Black people, we care about where these police are getting their tactics and trainings from. Cop City, internal link to Israel, shows you that the way in which law enforcement is trained here in America, they have partnerships with the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces over in Israel, where they share tactics of how they can brutalize Palestinians and niggas. It's not ironic that a bunch of relationships was made during what happened, you know what I'm saying, in the suburb of St. Louis because of what happened to Mike Brown. When Mike Brown got assassinated by law enforcement here in America, there was a bunch of Palestinians on Twitter that shared different tactics of how to maneuver around the equipment, the policing tactics, because they was already perfected on them. So when we talk about criminal justice and we think about police brutality, we see there's a link between Cop City got one in Dallas, Cop City got Atlanta, Cop City, I think in LA, Cop City in Chicago. These cop cities is popping up all over America. This showing you that the way that our local elected officials is clicking up with them, it impact us. Second thing, education. Right now, at the local level in Texas, we gonna ask James Tallarico, we gonna ask Jasmine Crockett, we gonna ask Ken Paxton, we gonna ask John Cornyn. Hey, what is your stance on school debt, public education, funding education? We gonna fight with each other about this shit in America about funding education. They're gonna tell us they got the money. In Texas, we dealing with a teacher shortage. In Texas, we dealing with them taking away money from public education and giving it to private school kids to get them $10,000 more. As a nigga that's not from the urban city, I'm not from a big city. I'm from more what they would call rural America. In rural Texas, we get a shitty form and quality education, and he took funding away from that to make it worse. Make it worse. What does this have to do with Israel Palestine? So if you are able to take $154 million in 2024 alone in Houston and send it over to Israel, meaning the city of Houston alone, not thinking about the $1.4 billion the state of Texas sent to Israel, thinking about the city of Houston alone, I think that they could have that $154 million that the city of Houston went and gave to Israel could have went on and bettering the quality of education here in Harris County. There are schools here in Houston that have 30 students and 1 teacher. The money could go better into paying teachers to have much more of an easier climate to make it where there's much, like now, 1-to-20 ratio instead of 1-to-30. So while we fight about education, Israel gives their citizens free public education. And Israeli citizens, they got to fight with each other about it. You see what I'm saying? So while we told we don't have the money, our local government, I ain't talking about the federal government. I ain't talking about the $5 billion packages that Trump approved. I'm talking about at the city level, state level. Think about Cori Bush. Cori Bush is a local elected official. You know what I'm saying? A local elected official. To my leftist partners, in order for us to make sure that they ain't sending our tax dollars over there, you got to engage these old politicians. They the ones that's authorizing the money and bombs going over there. Speaking of money and bombs, I live in the state of Texas. For y'all that say, what does Palestine, Israel have to do with Texas? Do y'all know which state is the largest weapons manufacturer in America? Do you know? Do you know what is the packages that we like to send to Israel? So Texas is the largest weapons manufacturer in the country of the United States. And typically we send weapons packages upwards of billions of dollars to Israel. This just simple shit. Healthcare. We gonna fight each other about healthcare. Right now, we're making distinctions between, they say, I think it's saying that James Tallarico wants universal health care and Jasmine Crockett wants affordable health care. Some people are saying Jasmine Crockett wants affordable health care is much more rational, even though it's not as good as universal health care, but universal health care is much more fantasy. While we debating each other about universal health care and affordable health care, Israel give their people free health care. The state of Texas sent over $1.4 billion to Israel in the year 2024 alone. And we ain't got health care here. They got health care there. In San Marcos, city here, outside of Austin, they had passed a resolution at the city level that said we no longer want our San Marcos tax dollars to go to funding weapons for Israel. They passed a resolution. Governor Greg Abbott stepped in and said, if you MFers pass this resolution, we're going to take your state funding. The people of San Marcos believe that those dollars can be spent better on healthcare, better like mental health, spent better on resources for the community, like after school programs. And Greg Abbott said, you can't do that. Go back to education real fast. They just put a curriculum here in Texas that took out us learning about slavery and put more about Christianity. They also did this in 2020, some in 2023, where they put in the curriculum, TEA in Texas stands for Texas Education Agency. The TEA, Texas Education Agency, and Greg Abbott instilled that our children learn about the Israeli conflict here in Texas. In conclusion, I'm gonna answer some rhetorical questions. Instead of asking us, why do we care so much about Israel-Palestine? I think that question should be better asked to our local officials. If we care about the power grid here in Texas, why are we spending so much money and sending so much money from Texas instead of paying for our power grid? Why do we have to worry about freezing as Texans that pay good tax dollars here in Texas, but it gets sent over somewhere else? We should ask our politicians, what role do you have as a U.S. representative, or what role do you have as a senator here in Texas that makes it where AIPAC or pro-Israeli lobbyists have interest in you? When you made that tweet, or you made that statement, or you made that email, or you were on that trip, why was that more important than helping your constituents here at home? These are questions that should be asked. Why is the litmus test for politicians to themselves on if they fall in line on whether Palestine should exist or not, or whether Palestine has the right to exist? Why? Why? These are all shits, you know what I'm saying? And getting at the last video, cause I know, you know what I mean? Get the last video. A lot of the problem in our country is literacy. Our government started to get pimped out by corporations so much they no longer cared about the general welfare and life quality of its citizens, and only cared about how we can help the investors and help the board of these corporations. And you know, because of that, a lot of teachers and students got sold up the road. George Bush said that no child should be left behind. And that was from George Orwellian doublespeak, because all the children was left behind. And what we see right here is that when we talk about America having a low literacy rate and reading books, it also applies to time.
I'm used to digital, man.
You ever seen a clock before?
No.
Okay.
7:12.
Sure.
Is it 12:10?
12:10.
12:09?
12:09. Yeah, you're close.
No, 9:25.
9:25. Close. You're 5 minutes off.
I think it's 9:02.
9:02.
2:09.
2:09. Okay.
Why would it be 9:02? Why would we be in school at 9:02?
Why wouldn't we be in school at 9:02?
Okay. So what's the conclusion, guys?
9:02.
2:09.
Okay, let's let the viewers decide.
Like 6:74.
Is it 3 o'clock?
AM or PM?
Gotta be AM, bro.
Okay.
Hey, our kids don't know how to tell time. Don't worry, bro. Hey, I can tell time for me, head ass. If this should not alarm you as an American, goddamn, like regardless of where you at, we don't know what time it is. You can't tell time. Nothing illustrates the climate of America more than us being in such a dire time and a lot of our youth not being able to tell what time it is. So dangerously, ethically, ugly, poetic. Just our kids can't tell time. The literacy rates don't just apply to books, it applies to reading time, man. It reminds me of this Saul Williams poem that he had about time, man. I'm gonna do it one day for y'all. I ain't gonna be able to do it today. Education is elevation. Subscribe to the Substack. If you are not able to, catch these live streams when I'm doing it on Substack or when I'm doing it on Facebook, Substack on YouTube, because eventually that's all I'm gonna be doing it on. You're always able to catch the episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts at. Shout out to y'all that's tuned in on Twitter. Shout out to y'all that's tuned in on TikTok. Shout out to y'all that's tuned in on Substack. I appreciate y'all. If you want any access to the information I talked about in terms of whiteness, the white comfort zone, anything that I've referenced, you're going to always be able to get that in a nice little newsletter if you subscribe to the Substack. Education is elevation. I appreciate y'all tremendously. I'm about to do a new rollout for y'all as well. I'm about to do a rollout for y'all where I have some new, theme music, new little themes and shit. Right now, it's slow lines, man. Slow lines. Let me know how y'all feel about the new format, man, where I'm at. Education is elevation again.